So going to next term, humanism. The next term is humanism. Okay. So what about humanism? So human-centered philosophies, as opposed to as opposed to those centered on religion and the supernatural. That's the first idea. Humanism, human being, something related or something contributory to, must be something contributory to human beings and their upheaval. Let us assume in that way. As for the term, as we see the term, we may assume in that way that human centered philosophies, as opposed to those centered on religion and the supernatural. So, when you say in terms of religion, people, those who strictly follow a religion, particular religious belief, may not be able to identify with this or may not be able to agree with this. But actually, in terms of religion, when you uh, talk in terms of freedom, obviously you may note down something like it's center. When you center upon certain religion, definitely it's not completely upon human centered philosophy. A religion says a lot of things. Each religion has its own tenets. So when you strictly follow a religion, it has its own demands and all. So that you talk about another school of tradition called humanism, which is completely centered upon human benefits or human upheaval, or the promotion of the individual uh, growth in general. But we will see. Actually, it has continuities with the Renaissance humanism. So Renaissance is very important. Renaissance tradition, Renaissance as an event in literature or in event in the social order of any, not just literary tradition or of any geographical space. That Renaissance spirit and the concept is very important as far as the human individual is concerned, because it is promoting the growth and expression. It's about a quest for knowledge. Renaissance spirit means quest for knowledge. So when do you go? When a person goes for seeking knowledge, when he or she is not satisfied with what is available, questing for knowledge. Something is already available. A person is born, a child is born, it grows in a particular among the group of human beings, relatives, parents. In between, it acquires a lot of knowledge. It starts learning language. It starts mingling with the people. So that's a very natural and simple process. Not very simple, but it's a process which is common to everyone. In between, in every society, every child acquires a kind of knowledge. So that is readily available for anyone and everyone. It may vary, the quality may vary accordingly, according to the kind of situation or kind of gathering where you are there. In a very broad family, if a child is growing up in a very broad-minded, among the broad-minded people, its thoughts, its approach, a perspective towards life, maybe in that way. Some people are there in very orthodox family, but their thoughts also are like that, because it's about the question of exposure. Even think about your education, not just family, your educational sectors, the education, the schools and the campuses where you study, you are taking you're getting educated. That has its own influence on you. So this is about your background, and the knowledge that is already available to you is at one point. And when do you start questing for knowledge, more knowledge? When you feel that what I have or what is readily available for me is not enough, not just enough. I have a lot to expo. It's about exposure. how to expose myself to something new. This is not just what is there in the world. Some people prefer traveling, meeting different people, different kinds of people. It's about experience building. So, definitely, the quest for knowledge is there in every human being. But everyone doesn't get the chance to. Okay, continuities. There is a so Renaissance humanism, after all, it's about promoting the quest in the human beings in general. Then, modern humanism. Now, we travel back, we travel, and we are now in the modern century. And what about this modern humanism? It's a post enlightenment intellectual disposition. Actually, enlightenment, enlightenment spirit. You can connect it with this French Revolution if you want. Everything is connected from one to the other. So enlightenment is about you are getting enlightened from your existing thoughts. That's not enough. You have to try something new, or you should not be satisfied with what is readily available. Something new is there for you, or you can try for you can go and find something better. When you are suppressed, when you are oppressed, you can try for something better. So that's the way you have Renaissance humans or post enlightenment, after all, enlightenment as such. But actually, there is a problem. When you talk about, when you connect with the enlightenment philosophy, enlightenment in general, when you look from outside, you can see it is completely promoting human beings and their growth in general in terms of their reasoning power. At the surface level, when you look at enlightenment philosophy, that's about enlightenment in general is promoting human growth because they are completely confident about human reasoning power and all. They are intellectually capable. That's what enlightenment says. So when I say humanism, something human centered, you may assume that this is completely about the freedom of expression for the individuals and all. But no. Actually, humanism has its own root, or enlightenment, even enlightenment has its own rigidity. Because every time they focus upon reason and rationality, where in one way or other, freedom of an individual, their intellectual freedom is in one way or other changed. You want to express something. You have an adventurous story in mind. Very adventurous, very fictional story. I'm just giving you an example. But you have to focus upon your reasoning power. A hero, a heroine jumping from the top of a mountain. Think about the scenes in Bahubali movie and all. Just try to visualize. You want to express, you want to portray that in one of your writings. You're going to write a poem on that. You want to compose some 10 to 15 lines on that event of a person jumping from the top of the mountain to and falling in the water, falling down, and all those ideas. If you want to keep, you want to write down. But at the same time, if you are demanded of the rationality, how can it be fine? How can it happen? The next moment, the question will hurt you. If a person jumps from that kind of a topmost position to such a depth, how can the person survive? Then your rationality works. So these ideas, these humanism or enlightenment, reasoning, nothing actually promotes real freedom. The kind of freedom that we assume when we discuss freedom in from 21st century or postmodern world. This is about limited freedom. Freedom is there, but with the conditions apply. Almost like that. So, solution to human problems, they say that rationality, thinking in a rational and reasonable way, can be the solution to human problems. Actually, this is a time when a lot of suppression, oppression is going on in the society. You know, with the colonial expansion and all, how human rights got denied. Hmm? So, society so in society a lot of problems used to exist, and that's why they wanted to promote or they wanted to discuss. They didn't have time to talk in terms of some romantic or such uh, ideas, flourishing literary works, but they wanted to correct the society, and that can be an increasingly perfectible society that can be made possible with your reasoning power. They wanted to promote the oppressed people to raise their voice. You are also capable. You have to lose nothing but chains. When a revolutionary says like that, human beings start thinking, or the oppressed people start thinking, yes, we don't have to be worried about anything. Why should we stay away from going for a rebellion? Because these people are already treating us like animals. Now, not even that cannot be always true, because animals are given more better treatment, far better treatment. When you compare it with the kind of oppression during that time, with colonialism, with the slave master relationship. So people have to make use of their reasoning power. We are also human beings, so we have the equal rights. In terms of such thoughts, promoting such thoughts, that's how it becomes human centered philosophy. It's not at all equivalent to the kind of freedom that you mean with the romantic school of tradition. Romanticism gets introduced even after a later time period when society has its own phase, which is comparatively better when you compare it with a time when enlightenment, before enlightenment and all, how that kind of an oppression, slave master relationship, and exploitation of human beings. That's why they talk about this human centeredness. So this is possible that once these oppressed people think about or start thinking about their own rights as human beings, individuals, they can fight back, but they have to make use of their rational power, reasoning power, rationality. And that's why they focus upon the social problems. And with that, they ultimately mean the human, the benefit for human beings in general. And that's why we term it as human centered. We call it as human centered. And trust in science and progress. They wanted to trust in science and progress, rationality, reasoning. Definitely, you have to connect it with the science. So, science is after all about reasoning, rationality, knowledge that is testable. They never believe something out of misbeliefs because of some religion says that. They want to test everything as such. Empirical knowledge, something that can be tested. Think about human body. Medical students dissect and learn it. It's not like it's not at all like you have a mind. Even mind, regarding mind, we have scientific theories now. But heart, for different sectors, cross different sections of a heart, or think about the model of ear, what is there inside it, brain. They talk about different parts of the body, and they name it. It's after they are testing, they are learning it out by dissecting, scientific study. It's unlike you're saying something which is out of reach. Should be tangible. Science wants everything in a tangible way. Okay, so that's why they connect it back to rationality. What is during life? They definitely say. Science never says what is afterlife. For them, it's just about ash. And they may even say some. They may term or connect some kind of elements with that ash. It's not at all. They do not have the concepts of ghost, spirit, because it's unlike the human body which is walking on the road. Flesh and blood human body, the living person. After that, it's for scientific people, it's just ash. And that ash may contain, yeah, the kind of elements which that is there in their periodic table. So they never want to go out of this rationality. And that's how they mean, or that's what they mean by human centeredness, reasoning power. And they are confident. So enlightenment is connecting back to this reasoning power that is capable of for a human being. But you need to get them a chance. It's not like chaining your intellectual power every time inside certain master slave relationship and expecting the person to be very rational. At least you have to be introduced to about your basic human rights. Then only you can raise your voice. We learn our rights. Just think about our getting introduced to constitution. We come across that sometimes in schools or in a very intellectual discussion. Though when you are denied of that right, you can now think, you can ask, you can question back. That's what you mean by humanism. We have its multiple other ways nowadays in a far developed way. But this is the initial stage where most of the a lot of people, lot of human beings had been oppressed, and their basic rights were denied. Okay, yes. So view of human nature, their view of human nature, but with a lot of general values they wanted to set upon that, and they wanted to promote educational ideas. That's very important to be noted down. Educational ideas, education. They wanted to promote education. It's not about. That's why it is human centered. It's not about exploiting the human beings for any reason. But it's not the freedom that we mean when after discussing romanticism. That's even later a tradition. Comparatively, it comes after this. And dignity and central position of human beings in the universe, they wanted to say. They wanted to assert. Human beings have their own dignity, central position, human centered, and how important education is. That's why I told you. How do we come to know about the rights? Think about our being the citizen of India. When some people violate that, or when we know the rules, sections, legal repercussions for a crime, we can definitely question when a person commits a crime. We can at least identify that the person is committing a crime just because we know something about the rules and sections and legal boundaries of the nation. Different nations have different rules, but we are aware of it at least. And we are talking about a time when people were not really aware because of the kind of oppression. They never had education. They always thought that we are born to be slaves. And that's why the revolutionaries associated with such revolutions, the major figures associated with such French revolutions and many other rebellious movements, wanted to promote education for all. Why primary education is made strict, compulsory in our nation? Because at least by that time, the basic rights, the awareness in every individual, every citizen of the country can be introduced with basic rights and basic rules of the nation. And so you can talk about philosophical literature and all contributing to this. So moral, practical rather than aesthetic value. That's why. Here again, a moral and practical. There you can see the elements of classic stance. Morality, practicality, not at all aesthetic values. Moral and practical. They wanted to promote moral and practical, not at all aesthetic values. See that? Yes. So, ordering human life, reasoning power, and it's against intellectual, instinctual appetite. That's again there. When you talk about love or lust, it's about instinctual appetite. Human beings in general, or any living being in general. You talk about such instinctual pleasure, but that's not what they are promoting. Human centered philosophy, when you say about humanism as human centered philosophy, it's not about promoting human nature. Actually, human nature is about freedom, expressing their own emotions, feelings. Actually, this philosophy, this school of tradition doesn't talk about any of that. It's about again sticking to morality, practicality, reasoning power, along with enlightenment humanism. So they never wanted to promote this animal passions in human beings. And they say diverse power of human beings like physical, mental, artistic, moral, everything should go in a balanced way. That itself they are in one way or other sticking to or going on with the classic or neoclassic ways. It's not about completely connected, but when you connect back to certain theories, certain schools which are known to you, you can at least connect back. So no, not merely technical. It should not be merely technical. You can promote physical, mental, artistic, other artistic forms to for the forms for the growth of human reason. In educational sector, you can promote everything of this, every kind of values, not merely technical. Reasoning should, you should never take it to be merely technical knowledge, but artistic. But everything is limited in its own because they want to promote morality, moral and practical side always. So there is a kind of, it's about, it's almost like you say, saying chained freedom. If is freedom there? Yes. Isn't it there? So that is the way. So that is the mode of discussing humanism as a school of philosophy. It's a human-centered philosophy, but with a lot of limitations and conditions applied. So unlike that romantic tradition that we come across at a later time, which is even more flexible. That's all for the time being. Thank you.